Hello and welcome to Next Stop News, a series created to inform the transit community about events occurring within the transit system. Here's what we'll be discussing in this month's installment. There hasn't really been much news out of the blue for the R211 since last month's update. However, it did test with this bulletin signed to A at Euclid on October 23rd, but that's about it. It's mostly been doing routine testing in the Rockaways, and occasional shifting between East New York and Pitkin yards. Since November 1st, the G has officially been 100% R160s with the mere exception of November 11th, where one R46 consist was reported to have run on the route. Now that the G is full property of Jamaica Yard, as I said in last month's update, all 5-car R160s belong to Jamaica, and the 98 to 9900s, which were exclusively on the G, have begun to be interchanged with Queens Boulevard line mainline routes, and some of the 92 to 9300 series R160s have been appearing on the G. Still waiting for the Siemens sets to show up on the G. Meanwhile, the NQ and W riders must continue to get used to the overwhelming presence of 75-foot SMEs. OMNY Cards are becoming a hit among many, and they are more readily available than ever. After hitting retail stores in early October, many commuters and transit fans alike have made it a mission to acquire one. I'm still looking to get my hands on one myself. They cost $5 to purchase, but they can last up to 7 years. That's definitely going to help reduce a lot of wasteful card litter. This is in contrast to the plastic Metro cards, which could be acquired for $1, but only lasted for a year and a half at most. A known advance to the Metro card fans. Like the token, the Metro card will soon be phased out. You have until 2023 to enjoy normal usage of one. I assume this means the current Metro card vending machines will eventually become Omni machines. The Omni card itself reminds me a lot of WMATA's Smart Trip card. The MTA recently interconnected Omni readers with 240 emergency exit gates for those that require them as entrances. On November 17th, it was announced that 5 subway stations will be retrofitted with new turnstiles in order to improve station accessibility. It's only fitting that a new payment method accompanies a new turnstile system. I have a feeling that the MTA was partially inspired by the WMATA while introducing all these new concepts. The 5 stations that will receive this revolutionary technology are Atlantic Avenue, Bowling Green, Flushing Avenue, Penn Station, and Sutphin Boulevard. The Elmont Station's eastbound platform opened on November 16th, bringing Long Island Railroad its first new station in 50 years, on the Hempstead branch, near the outskirts of Queens. However, though UBS Arena fans were pleased at the fact that the Long Island Railroad will finally service this location, this grand accomplishment was dwarfed by the overwhelming news about Eastside access, which inches closer and closer to reality as each day goes by. New York's Governor, Kathy Hochul, was present with several MTA employees and officials for the inaugural trip to Grand Central Terminal via Long Island Railroad tracks. This groundbreaking achievement was conducted on an M9, with 9107 leading the way. It reminded me of when R62A 1806 made its southwestern voyage on the 7 to Hudson Yards months before its official opening. On the subway side of things, it was announced on November 23rd that a grant request was submitted by the MTA to fund Phase 2 of the 2nd Avenue subway, which will annex 3 more stations to the line, 106th, 116th, and 125th Street, using existing tracks. This will mean that from 86th to 125th Street, a stop will exist for every 10 blocks on the 2nd Avenue subway. Governor Hochul also toured this site as well, and the funding of this project will be made available due to President Biden's infrastructure investment. The R62A4 train made its presence known once more over the weekends of November 20th and November 27th. This was due to the fact that a GO occurred, which split the 4 into 2 sections. The portion between 138th Street and Crown Heights utilized the R62As due to access to Jerome Avenue Yard being cut off. It felt good seeing my first R62A4 since 2015. Yep, it's been that long since I've attended this GO. 181st Street on the 1 line is now open for business once again, with its elevators being fully operational on December 1st. This means that I can soon conduct a visit to the M98 again, something I've wanted to do again for a while. Clark Street in Brooklyn has also been closed since November 3rd. Credit to the Sim 3 Fulmer for the photos. The MTA tried to bring the R1 and 9s back this year, but to no avail. It was officially announced that this would not be the case on December 2nd by the New York Transit Museum. They did several test runs throughout the system, mainly on the I&D. However, things took a turn for the worse on a couple occasions in the testing phase. On the week of November 15th, the R1 and 9 Consist began smoking at 135th Street, while on November 18th, a video was released of one of the cars on fire at Essex Street due to a faulty third rail gap and an electrical arc. This, compiled with the emergence of the Omicron variant of COVID, canceled the prospect of an early return of the nostalgia train. November was indeed a month of anniversaries. We marked 4 years of R179s on November 19th, as well as the first time I set foot on one, which was 3058 on November 27, 2017. Though they've had their challenges, they've actually been holding up pretty well so far. R179's 3150 to 3153 returned to 207th Street Yard on October 11th, making for a total of 22 4-car R179s for the C, or 11 train sets at 207th Street Yard. We marked 8 years of factory R188s in service on November 9th. This also means that I've now been fanning for over 8 years. Go team! We also marked the 1-year anniversary of the full retirement of the 2nd Gens, which was accomplished on November 19, 2020. East New York retired their 2nd Gens in October, while Fresh Pond and JFK retired theirs in November. JFK was the very last depot to run 2nd Gens, which were replaced by the 3800 series Hawker XT Next Gens you see at the depot today. Now that we're in December, the lease on the Proterra BE40s is slated to expire any day now. Catch the demos at Grand Avenue while you still have the opportunity to do so. It will be the last time we see Proterras based out of the MTA for a very, very long time. The wheels are beginning to turn again with the LFS HEV fleet. Nova has gotten its head back in the game. While the LFS HEVs were grounded, Nova constructed 9629 to 9630, 9643, 45 to 47, 55, 79, 82, 84, 96, 9703, 05, 16, 30, 38, 97, 81, 97, 85 to 97, 89, 91, 94 to 99, 98, 01, 05, 07 to 09, 16, 18 to 28, 39, 41, 57, 9888 to 9896, and 9906 to 9910. 63 units total, 17 bases and 46 options. Last I heard, everything from 9785 to 9846, 62 units, were built before the shutdown, so some of the series confirmed on this list do not surprise me. This will mean that the total of options built is actually at least 77. Knowing that 11 LFS HEVs in Gun Hill's allotment are built gives me hope that they will receive their allotment very soon. 9630, 9716, 9781, 97 and 9828 have already appeared on Transsee as glitches. Over 4 weeks while they were in storage, the plug door malfunction on the existing HEVs was identified and corrected, along with any other underlying issues that the fleet may have had. Some units like 9658 and 9691, however, still have broken trackers. While the HEV fleet was out of commission, one unit resisted death, that being 9660. While the rest of the fleet was grounded, 9660 did runs on October 20th and 21st on the BX13 and October 27th on the M100. It subsequently went to Manhattanville for more training and inspection, remaining there from November 1st to November 8th. 9745 also served as a training bus on October 24th and November 7th, similar to the way that 9624 and 25 were used in April as training buses for Manhattanville. After the repairs were made, Manhattanville housed 13 to 20 units in the depot, while Kingsbridge's LFS HEVs gradually returned to the depot. By November 6, 9658 to 59 and 9662 to 64 had returned to the depot. 9660 went to Manhattanville for training, then returned to Kingsbridge on November 8th, the same day that the first LFS HEV returned to passenger service on the M2, that bus being none other than the training unit, 9745. This was a massive moment, marking the rebirth of the Nova HEV fleet in New York City. Both 9660 and 9745 did AM and PM test runs out of their respective depots on the very next day, and then tested intermittently for the rest of the week. Once the Department of Buses was confident that the HEVs were good to go, they began gradually re-implementing them into service during the week of November 14th. 9702 re-entered service on November 15th, while 9663 and 9761 joined the entourage of HEVs on the 16th. 9757 and 9782 returned on the 17th, while 9625, 3758, 64, 9701, and 9767 came back on November 18th. By the end of the week of November 14th, 9625, 3758, 60, 63 to 64, 91, 9701 to 02, 9745, 57, 61, 67, and 82, 14 units were all back in service. Tuskegee re-implemented the rest of their LFS hybrids during the weeks of November 21st and 28th. By December 2nd, all their HEVs were back in service. During the week of November 28th, most of Kingsbridge LFS hybrids re-entered service, with the rest of the 4 returning in December. Manhattanville units are still returning, and around half have been re-implemented so far. The first option order LFS hybrid to hit service after the grounding was 9812 on the M98 on November 23rd. Believe it or not, this was actually its first time in service period. As of December 7th, 40 LFS hybrids at Manhattanville from the base order and 7 from the option order are in service. As of the release of this video, here's a list of the known LFS HEVs which have returned to the streets. No new XDE40 deliveries have been administered for Hale. However, 9578 did briefly visit Manhattanville for repairs between November 6th and November 16th. And it hasn't run since November 3rd. Quill received 9611 and 9618 to 19, 9618 being the last unit to arrive, which completed their base order of XDE40s 9590 to 9619 on November 10th. 9618 was also the last unit to hit service, doing so on December 8th, after overcoming its issue of having a broken air pressure system. The Quill XDEs have already gotten into a few incidents, such as 9597 experiencing a collision into a depot pillar on November 4th, and 9609 being towed on October 15th, 9 days after delivery. It is also reported that a few other Quill XDEs have had minor collisions into depot pillars, and that 9590 hasn't been seen in service since October 13th. East New York received its very first Allison XDE40 since last November, which while doing so confirmed the fact that 9510 to 34 were for East New York and 9535 to 59 were for Grand, since East New York received units in the former range. They acquired 9514 to 9519, 9521 to 9528, and 9530 to 9533, 18 units total. Side note, when we saw 9520 being towed, it was due to inclement weather, not a mechanical failure of the bus itself. The New York Post covered that unit being delivered across the country under its own power. The first units were delivered between November 2nd and November 8th, immediately filling in for the 8 next gens that East New York sent to Manhattanville. It was ironic that East New York received these units a year since 9510 first hit service. However, they couldn't be cleared for service until they had received door fixes and other mechanical work at the CMF. Once this was completed, East New York wasted no time getting their XDEs onto the streets, getting as many units onto as many routes as possible. 9516 to 17, 19, 22, and 25 hit service on the B12, B14, B25, B82, and B84 on November 15th, which was their first collective day in service. Seeing Allison XDE40s in service for the first time since April was very, very exciting. Other than 9524 revisiting the JFK vendor, no major incidents have been reported for this batch of XDEs. Grand inherited XDE40s 9535 to 36 and 9538 to 9541, 6 units total, some of which made their cross-country journey to New York City between late November and early December. This helped to diversify their variety of Xcelsiors, as well as making it the only depot to currently feature both 2018 and 2021 XDE40s. I always viewed the XDEs as a fleet that Grand deserved anyway, so I'm glad they got them. It is likely that both Grand and East New York will complete their allotments before December ends. I'm really hoping to see them on the B38 during a snow lull. There is also unconfirmed speculation of 9505 to 9509 potentially heading to Manhattan in the future, as they are Bay units. If this does occur, they'll most likely go to Quill for 2 reasons. 1. Quill knows how to use outwards opening doors on 40-foot Xcelsiors due to their XD40s, whereas Hale only has experience with plug-style doors for their 40-foot Xcelsiors. 2. Hale will not be short once their XDE allotment is complete, but Quill will still need replacements for a small remnant of next gens after their 76 XD40s have arrived. If this does come to fruition, it'll likely be made possible if Jamaica sends some XD40s to Grand when they get their cone heads. However, we'll just have to wait and see on this possibility. Flatbush has one select bus service schemed XD40 left, that being 7651, as 7623 and 7653 were recently wrapped at Grand CMF. Credit to Ches for the imagery. 7645 is getting wrapped as we speak. Soon, the entire 40-foot fleet at Flatbush will cease to feature the aqua blue scheme. 5567 was also confirmed to be wrapped on November 11th, making for a total of 11 wrapped 2019 LFSAs at Gun Hill, 5563 to 5573. This is a foreshadowing of what will occur in the future when Quill sends their 2017-19 LFSAs to the Bronx. They will likely be wrapped in a similar manner. Quill retired Old Gens 6709, 6744, and 6752, reducing their total to 3 Old Gens, 6700, 6737, and 6747. 6700 now has a Hudson Pier Depot sticker and did a run on the M11 on November 30th, before its final run on the M8 on the very next day. And Quill sent 2015 LFSs 8318, 20, and 22-24 back to Castleton on November 6th. They sent 8313 and 8315-17 back to Yukon on November 16th. 8314 was sent back on the 17th, as the Quill sticker on it had to be removed first. This was able to be done when more XDEs hit service at Quill. Remember, during the grounding of the LFS HEVs, Quill increased their total of XDEs from 27 to 30. Having more XDEs in service allowed them to expel the LFSs before the 4100s returned. The remainder of Quill's Old Gens are sticking around due to the 4100s not being back at the depot yet. Tuskegee sent their 4 loaned Old Gens, 67, 65, 70, 76, and 86, back to Hale on December 1st, ending their Old Gen era and causing Hale and Quill to be the last 2 depots with Old Gens in Manhattan. Hale has 6 Old Gens once again. All 4 of Tuskegee's former units immediately hit service on the M7 after returning to the depot. There are 9 Old Gens left in all of Manhattan. Queens Village retired Old Gens 6850, 64, 66, 69, 71, 83, 85, 95, 6902, and 6905, which was the highest Old Gen, reducing their total from 42 to 32 Old Gens. One may have said that it was foolish to retire these buses in mid-October, as this created a shortage at the depot when they had to send some of their next gens to Manhattanville. But keep in mind, they were retired before the issues on the LFS HEVs were even identified. They didn't know that they'd have to send their next gens back to Manhattanville. No one could have anticipated this. Before the LFS HEV sidelining, Queens Village's plan was likely to junk the rest of the Old Gens using next gens before year's end. However, this has since been put on hold. I anticipate Queens Village to have at least 90 next gens before next gens begin to get sent to MTA bus more frequently. Once the HEV order is done, the Coneheads will move 50 of them to MTA bus as well, or Eastchester scrap. JFK's agonizing retirement of Old Gens continues 1 bus at a time. 3504, 3642, and 3705 were the latest buses to be retired at the depot. The retirement campaign will soon pick up here, as the depot prepares to receive next gens from Grand Avenue, a move I never expected. As all the loans returned to Grand from Manhattanville by December 8th, 4561 was retired, and 4558 and 4563 were sent to JFK, Grand Avenue retains 21 next gens. They can replace more 4500s if necessary, and send the 2010 units back to Queens Village, or even JFK. They will be one of the first depots to end their Ryan era completely since 2019. On November 9th, Kingsbridge Depot received 8369-73 back from Castleton, which helped to resolve their fleet shortage, which was the reason why 4100s from Quill were sent to the depot in the first place. On November 13th to the 14th, 4340-42 returned to Gun Hill, and on November 19th, 4332 and 4338 went back as well. The latter 2 units have spent a month on loan to Kingsbridge while the HEVs were out of service. Kingsbridge total of next gen stands at 22, while Gun Hill stands at 27. 3871 was the first ever Manhattanville Hawker XT Next Gen and Manhattanville Next Gen period to die of natural causes, performing its final run on the M5 on October 4th, and being sent to Eastchester scrap on October 28th. 3955, the second Next Gen ever to retire, and the first ever Hawker to retire, was reactivated, returning to service on November 29th after being fixed up at Grand CMF. Once more LFS hybrids are delivered, expect many of the 48 Hawker XTs at Manhattanville to retire in a similar manner as the Old Gens did. However, if some are lucky, they can meet 3888's fate and be sent to JFK instead. As 11 next gens were sent back to Queens Village, 10 to Stengel, 8 to Fresh Pond, 5 to Flatbush, 2 to East New York, and 10 to Grand, Manhattanville experienced the beginning of its loss of next gens, declining from its ultimate apex. Never in history has Manhattanville had more next gens than during the LFS hybrid shutdown. They had 227 active next gens, which made the fleet 100% next gen. Now, the presence of Orions at the depot is being reduced once and for all. Manhattanville currently has 182 Next Gens, 48 Hawkers, and 134 Lithiums, 29 of which are loans. The loans are returning right on time too, as the depots began to experience the effects of the shortage in November. Heck, Grand Avenue, which was short themselves, had to loan buses to Fresh Pond. Thanks to the returning Next Gens, Queens Village has 55, Stengel has 87, Fresh Pond has 82, Flatbush has 61, and East New York has 64. Grand has 21, and Quill has 7 Lithiums. 2019 LFS 8703 was completely restored to my elatement, returning to Castleton from the Yukon shops on October 27th and re-entering service on November 4th, being the second post-Ida bus besides Orion 7 3rd Gen 7001 to be restored. I'm hearing that all of the local buses, including the retired 3rd Gens, are currently moving around the island in order to receive flood work. Could they be unretired in the near future? Only time will tell. Once they received their 5 LFSs back from Quill, Castleton sent 8369 to 73 back to Kingsbridge, as was mentioned earlier. This fixed the shortage at Kingsbridge. This means that Kingsbridge can once again end their Orion era. 8319 at Castleton is apparently testing a new radio integration system, hence why it wasn't seen in service for a while. Charleston Depot retired D4500 CLs 4304 and 4327, bringing their total of 2007 MCIs to 18. However, they received 7 more CLs from MTA Bus, Spring Creek, Yonkers, and Eastchester since the last time we spoke, bringing their total to 14X MTA Bus 2005-06 CLs. They had 32 MCI D4500 CLs in total. It was confirmed on November 18th that the MTA will be taking over the SIM 23 and 24. This will occur on January 3rd, 2022 during the winter pick, and the 2 routes will be assigned to Charleston Depot. They will run 6 trips on each route during the AM rush and 7 trips during the PM rush. One of 2 things will happen. Meredith will either receive 1607 to 1628 22 units to send all 20 of their 2012 Prevosts to Charleston, so that they could retire their remaining CLs and have a fleet to use for the SIM 23 and 24, while Meredith becomes an exclusively 2021 to 22 Prevost depot, or Charleston will receive 1607 to 1628 to directly replace those MCIs and bring the first blue and gold buses to the depot, as it is now the only depot in the city without any blue and gold buses. If this option occurs, there will be a moment in time where Charleston will become the most diverse depot in Staten Island express-wise, with 2005 to 06 CLs from MTA Bus, 2007 CLs from New York City Transit, 2013 CTs, 2015 to 16 Prevost, and 2022 Prevost. Either way, the 3000s and 3100s from MTA Bus will make temporary service on the SIM 23 and 24 until they are eventually retired. It will be very exciting to see both routes using MCIs and Prevost, even if they aren't blue and gold Prevost. I can't wait! Catch the Van Hools on the SIM 23 and 24 while you still can, however, because they will no longer run on those routes after January 3rd. Also, 2004 MCI 3000 returned to service out of College Point on November 4th after getting its axle fixed. College Point also received another Prevost, that being 1351. They're slowly and steadily resuming their Prevost order. Eastchester Depot finally received 1399 from JFK on November 4th, placing it into service on the same day. They also received 1405, which brought their total to 24 Prevosts, which is exactly half of their allotment. Between November 19th and December 6th, Far Rockaway received 1430 and 1433 to 1436, 5 units total, bringing their total to 19 Prevosts. They are very close to finishing their Prevost order. Yonkers received 1461 to 1468 since the last time we spoke, bringing their total to 15 units, 1453, 1455 to 1468, and 1472. They still haven't gotten 1454 from JFK yet. Spring Creek has 1492, 1495 to 1497, and 1499, 5 Prevosts total. 1493 to 1494 were apparently false rumors that was not confirmed. Among several accomplishments, New Flyer won the MTA 60 electric bus bid on November 12th, which of course has drastic implications. It means that the MTA, Beeline, NICE, New Jersey Transit, and Dash have all decided on New Flyer to bring about the beginnings of their electric future. Since it was announced that 5 XE40s will arrive by September of 2022, with the other 55 slated to be delivered in 2023, I expect the final Next Gens at New York City Transit to be retired or shifted by the end of 2023. I somehow sense that it might even be 2 depots, not 1, that bear the last Next Gens in the system. This also means that with the help of the XDE40, XD40 orders, and possible XD60 shifts in the future, Brooklyn will likely become 100% Xcelsior by the end of 2023. And if the depot assignments remain unchanged, Kingsbridge and Charleston will have new Flyer XE40s, which will break Kingsbridge's 100% Novahood, if it even achieves that goal at all before then, bringing the depot its first new Flyer since June 2020. It will also break Charleston's exclusive usage of the 2015 LFS series for the local fleet, bringing them their first blue and gold buses. That is, if 1607 to 1628 do not go to Charleston first, as many speculate. It'll also bring Staten Island its first new Flyers in over a decade. Either way, things will look very, very interesting in the next 2 years. Nice Bus prepares to bring a long-lasting era to an end. Like them or hate them, the 2008 Orion 7 Next Gen CNGs are preparing to become history. Out of 100, a mere 17 are left, which are listed here. 1785 and 1797 are system reserve buses. Credit to MTA Bus Transit Center for the photo. 1708 to 1709, 14, 16, 19, 21 to 25, 30, 33 to 34, 39, 1741 to 42, 44, 48, 53, 57, 61 to 63, 65, 67 to 68, 71 to 73, 77 to 79, 81, 83 to 84, 86, 1790 to 1791, 94, and 1798 to 1799. 41 units were retired between last month's update and now. The 2021 XN40s and Gilligs have proven very efficient and very effective at accomplishing their mission in this regard. 2010 Next Gen 1800 has also been retired as of December 5th, an early start to the natural retirement campaign of this series. Gillig's 2040, 2046, 2048, and 2056 to 2072 were delivered, bringing Mitchell Field's total of Gilligs on the property to a whopping 73, 2000 to 2072. The existing Gilligs between 2034 and 2072 hit service, which accelerated the Next Gen retirements. We only have 7 more Gilligs to go. I believe if Gillig is quick, they can get all of them on property before year's end. However, many of them will likely not enter service until 2022 due to inspections. It'll also be a while before the entire range is trackable. The Gilligs have been on every single nice route, a goal which was fulfilled with 2006 on the N80 on November 15th. 2000 later follows suit on December 2nd. Again, credit to MTA Bus Transit Center for the pictures. On November 12th, Nice Bus finally partnered with Transsee, making catching the remaining Next Gens and the arriving Gilligs much easier. It was noticeable that many 1700s were gone, as only 6 to 7 units were tracked during rush hours. At first I thought it was only 1 to 3, but it was revealed at the time that entering 1719 to 1798 as a search range was much more lucrative in finding 1700s than simply typing 1700 to 1799, due to a glitch caused by retired units. Still, a notable part of the fleet was gone, as around 6 to 7 were tracked during rush hours, as said before. It was also noticeable that 2011 to 2072 had not gotten fully functioning trackers yet, as only 2000 to 2010 were trackable. The other units could be tracked on NICE's website. Now to clear up some potential next-gen confusion from past updates. 1737 and 1792 were marked as retired in previous updates when we later found out that they were not retired yet. My apologies. 1732, 35, 51, and 58 were also retired by the 2021 XN40s, but they were not mentioned in former updates as I did not yet have this information. 1759 retired in September at the hands of the Gilligs. Many also spoke of the fact that I forgot to include the fact that Gillig 2041 was sent to Zariga in October, days before starting service at Mitchell Field. This was big news, but I didn't include it as it had no implications for the MTA. The MTA has no plans to order any more CNG buses in the future. However, if they did, Gilligs at College Point would have looked badass. On November 17th, it was confirmed that NICE will be receiving 36 electric Xcelsior charged Next Gens in the future, 6 aforementioned units out of the base order, with an option of 30 that may be exercised over the next 5 years. The base order Xcelsiors will likely be numbered from 2165 to 2170, while the options range from 2171 to 2200. They will likely be delivered with a similar paint scheme as the XN60s. Whether they do have the same trim as the XN40s, like Dash's XE60s do, or whether they will have a roofline similar to the MTA's XE40s, remains to be seen. Once all of the Orions finish retiring, NICE's cumulative fleet, excluding the Flexies, will be 1885 to 2200 for a very, very long time. So, to recap, we're looking at 2 Gillig option orders, 2080 to 2119 and 2120 to 2164 to replace all of the 1800 series Orions, and 30 electrics to provide fleet expansion and clean energy in Nassau County, on top of the 6 electric base orders. These Xcelsiors will provide up to 250 miles of range off of one charge alone. They will also provide 525 kilowatt hours of power per charge and help NICE move towards becoming a bus rapid transit or BRT network. If you want more context on the Xcelsior Charge Next Gen itself, please visit mid-February 2021's update as well as the article. Both links will be embedded in the video and in the description below. The B-Line system may have possibly retired another Orion 5 short, 131, as it hasn't run since October 27th on Route 16. Meanwhile, the sole 2021 New Flyer XDE40 at B-Line 399 got its fare box installed on November 10th. A few more moments and it'll finally be in service. I am not currently aware of which routes it will perform at this current moment. 2018 XDE40 332 also got into an accident on Route 5 on November 30th. New Jersey Transit's first 2022 D4500 CT 22001 was confirmed to be built on November 5th. I wonder what garage it will be assigned and delivered to. 118 buses will be delivered, with 22,001 to 22,088 being delivered to New Jersey Transit, and 22,089 to 22,118 being delivered to Academy. As formerly mentioned, this batch of CTs marks the beginning of the end for the D4500 series collectively. They will no longer be constructed after this point. Oradell Garage put their 21300s in service on October 16th. The highest that New Jersey Transit will go up to is 21,367, an increase of 33 buses from the original stopping point. 21,334 was the original stopping point. 21,301 to 21,334 are all for Oradell Garage, by the way. This process put an end to all flip.D4500s at New Jersey Transit, with 7442 and 7422 out of Egg Harbor being the last ones to retire, 7422 retiring on the last day of October. Now, only the D4000s remain. There was also a bus crash in Camden County involving 2 18,000 series MCI D4500 CTs on October 28th. They were 18,023 and 18,032. 18,023 was running on Route 554 when it crashed into 18,032, which was at the time stationary and disabled. This collision injured 5 people. May they hopefully recover soon. Dashbus pressed 4 new Proterras into service, 807 to 810, as early as November 10th, to accompany 804 to 806, which entered service in July. 808 was in service as of November 8th, and the other units could have been in service days before this, but this was the earliest instance of them being detected in service. Turns out CPTDB was wrong on this one as well, as Dash did receive 4 Proterras after all, not 3. And it's ironic that their Proterras end at the same number that our XN40s end at. The Proterras helped to retire the 2004 to 07 Orion 5s, 87 and 98. 2021 XE60-901 hit service on November 25th on Route 32, formerly known as Route AT7. XE60-902 joined the party on December 2nd, which led to a rebirth of the Age of Articulation in Alexandria after an agonizing 4 months. WMATA is still getting by with their legacy fleets, 2000s, 3000s, and 6000s, while their 7000s get inspected and repaired. The agency themselves has said that this will last at least up till December 31st. Now, it is time for featured photos. Here are some photos that were submitted to me for presentation. Shout out to Savion Magelli for letting me know about this RTS model. It's limited edition and I'm not even sure if they still sell it anymore. If they do, you should probably try and check it out. Shout out to David for posting these pictures of the Go Gilligs. Shout out to JJ for this photo of M9 9074. And thank you for being a great fan of mine. Shout out to Transit Productions YouTube for the photos of the 181st Street elevators. Thanks to the station overhaul, the northbound platform is now fully ADA accessible. And last but not least, shout out to Maddox for these awesome photos of the East New York XDE40s. They are extremely fun to catch. If I missed you, no hard feelings. I got so many requests this month that I couldn't keep up. If you want your photos featured in future updates, please let me know. Fanning recommendations. This month's recommendations are the Old Gens left in Manhattan, the returning LFS hybrids, the overwhelming presence of Next Gens at Manhattanville, the returning Next Gen loans, the Allison XDE40s, Queens Village Old Gens, Grand Avenue and East New York Next Gens, and Van Hool's on the Sim 23 and 24. Here's the current schedule for the future updates. January to March's uploads are all confirmed and have been placed on a new schedule track. I might start including weekly live streams on my channel for spontaneous updates. Credit to those who provided some of the photos and information used in this video. They will individually be credited in the comments section. Please subscribe, stay blessed, stay healthy, stay hype, and thank you for riding with Next Stop News.